Okay, well, looks like we're at the top of the hour, Tanya and Aaron, so if you want to start recording the session, I'll start launching it here. And Dr. Bakewell-Sachs is going to join us as well because she's going to be available to give us some information, and I see some of the faculty are on as well. The topic today is talking about the academic appointment and finding that job, and I talk, primarily from my perspective here in Indiana, so I love it that somebody, who has a little more insight to what's going on locally is on. But we'll kind of get started, and then we'll pool our information, and, finding jobs is all about networking, so we'll be sure that we're doing some of that now and for the rest of the semester. So welcome, everybody, and again, our topic is finding that ideal academic appointment. And we're going to, let me remind you again, the telephone, mute everybody. So I guess Tanya and Aaron, if whoever's doing muting, be sure we're on mute. It all sounds good to me. And if you can't hear me, be sure to send me a note or pipe in and let me know. I think I'm okay from that. And we'll do some interaction here, so be ready to ask questions and so on. And again, reminder, the *6 will mute and unmute your lines. So I think we're good. So this is what we're going to talk about today, and we'll try to think about what's your idea of what an ideal appointment is, and I'll give you some ideas about what faculty role is all about in the appointment so that you know when you're reading an ad for an academic appointment, you know what it really means, so you know the terms, I guess. And we'll talk a little bit about where to find them and how to do the networking and the interview and search and screen process. And, certainly end up with, we want to be sure that everybody's getting their doctoral degree and the terminal degree that's, really ideal for a faculty position. So that's the general gist here, and I'm going to move ahead with that. And I'll ask, does anybody have an academic appointment? And if you do, raise your hand. I don't expect to see too many hands because, I realize that you're still a semester out from graduating, most of you. Some of you a little bit longer if you're a doctoral student. But do you have one lined up or even a lead? Oh, okay. Oh, Kim, you're already teaching. But you have your ideal appointment, right? Okay. Okay, and Teresa, you're already teaching too, so I know that we've got two people who have an ideal academic appointment. Thank you. Okay, and I think the rest of you probably are in the process of thinking about it. And if you're not right now, by 4 o'clock today, you will be. So here's some thoughts about the ideal appointment, and I'm wondering, when I think about what's ideal, and I've thought about this, for all the times that I've been teaching, because every year I kind of go through, is this my best opportunity here? And there's, different things that are important to us, and there are different things that are important to us at different times in our career. So, right now, it may be that you need benefits. That certainly is a big reason why a lot of people are working in nursing or nursing education. So that might be important. Some of you who are, wanting to really test your teaching abilities, you want to be working in a school where there's resources to do it. If you're really into doing simulations, you would be wanting to teach at a school where that was something that was used and valued, and there would be people there to help support you. So all of these things are things to be thinking about when you're looking for your academic position here. And something else that you could be doing at this point is to kind of be looking at it, what's important, what are you going to be doing, and then have your elevator speech ready. And I'm just going to jump right into this. And we talked about elevator speeches in our last Career Builder, and I want to be sure that everybody's ready to be able to give one. And so take just a minute, because you should have this at the tip of your tongue. What are you going to say when you're, we'll say, riding in the elevator with somebody from New Jersey? And when if Susan, when she's on, I would love pretend like you're riding in an elevator with Susan Bakewell Sachs, because she is connected to everything that's going on in New Jersey nursing education, and you would want to be able to take that moment with her and introduce yourself and tell her what it is that you want in your ideal job. So raise your hand here. I'm going to call on you, and if you don't have your hand raised, I might call on you anyway, because if I ask you this when I see you again in February, and I'll ask what's going on with your job search, I will want to know what it is. So take a minute, get that 3 key sentences about what you're going to be looking for, and raise your hand, because I'd really rather, call on you with your hand raised than call on you without your hand raised. Okay. I may have to call on somebody. So let's see. Janice McConnon, can you give us your elevator speech? You're riding up the elevator with me, and I'd love to know what you're looking for in your job.
Hello, Diane. Hello, Dr. Boland. I'm just trying to connect, and my phone's giving me trouble.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Janice, okay. So where are you in your job search process? What's going on, and what would be an ideal position for you?
Okay, an ideal position for me, Dr. Billings, would be for an adjunct faculty position in the clinical setting.
Okay. And how will you integrate your teaching into that?
I'm sorry?
And is that the adjunct position in a clinical setting, is that to be teaching from a school of nursing?
Yes, from a school of nursing.
Okay, what is your area of expertise in clinical teaching?
My area of expertise is emergency room.
Okay, and what kind of teaching skills do you have that would make you attractive as an adjunct at Rutgers, we'll say, just to pull a name out of the hat?
My prior experience was as a clinical nurse educator in the emergency room at a urban hospital in New Jersey.
Okay. So we've pulled a few more pieces of information out for you, okay? And have you taught in an emergency room before?
I'm sorry?
I said, have you taught in an emergency area before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and we don't have
not with students, with new graduates.
Okay, and I'm role-playing here a little bit more with you. I'm going to say, well, at our school we don't really have take students to the emergency room. What other related kinds of things could you teach for us?
What other kind of things could I teach for you besides the emergency room?
Yeah.
Well, I have experience in med-surg and critical care also, but my strength is in the emergency room.
Okay. And I guess, if you're really looking for a position here, you want to be able to have kind of a broad perspective here, so that if maybe the school has an opening for this adjunct position that you're looking for, but something as specific as the emergency room may not be something that the school would, have something available, but maybe there would be something that would be related. So there, nice job. And I'm going to ask for hands raised on a few more of these elevator speeches. You could have deduced from this role play some of the things that you would want to be saying. And while you guys are getting your elevator speech ready, I'm going to say hi to Susan. Dr. Bakewell Sachs has joined us.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I apologize that my voice is not very good.
Well, we're glad you have joined us, and we've just kind of started, and I'm trying to have a few examples of hearing what the scholars are interested in for their first position and having them get some kind of an elevator speech ready in case they run into you at a meeting or somebody else who may be looking for a faculty member. So, Lisa, I see that you have your hand raised. Do you want to give us your elevator speech and what you're looking for?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Lisa Heelan, and I'm a Robert Wood Johnson doctoral student at Seton Hall University. I'm very interested in research, specifically in maternity and evidence-based practice and barriers that nurses encounter in providing evidence-based care. I am looking for a full-time tenure-track position in New Jersey. I love nursing theory, and I'd love to have you know more about me, and here's my card.
Okay. Well, now, isn't that a wonderful example? And so thank you for being so prepared, and we will, I would say, go to our website, too, and see what other information that you might be interested in, and send us an email then.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. So who else can come up with a nice elevator speech? Some of you are going to need to be doing this real quickly here. Grace, I'm going to call on you. Grace, can you get in? Star 6?
Yes, can you hear me, Diane?
Yes, I can. Yeah, tell us what your ideal appointment is and what you're looking for.
Okay. Well, my ideal appointment is something doing a dual role as a teaching position in my area is labor and delivery, so I'd love to be teaching OB and possibly have a second area of practice in possibly the student health department or something like that, so having two different roles at one university.
Okay, so it sounds like you want to have some clinical practice as well as teaching?
Yes.
Okay, and what particular teaching skills do you bring to us?
I'm sorry, Diane, could you say that again?
Sure. What particular teaching skills do you bring to us at this point? Have you taught before, or what teaching experience have you had in maternity nursing?
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I have not had any formal teaching experience as a professor, but I've had opportunity to be a guest lecturer at a community college teaching some classes on prenatal development and birth.
Okay, so you have had some teaching experience, and have you had any formal preparation for teaching?
As part of this program, I've had a course on curriculum development, and currently right now I'm taking a teaching strategies course, and next semester I'll have a teaching practicum where I'll be working with a faculty member teaching a clinical course. Okay, well, wonderful, and it sounds like you will then be quite prepared to work at our school, because we really are interested in hiring faculty who have some theoretical background in teaching as well as the clinical practice part of it. And in our school, we combine our OB and PEDS course content. How would you respond to having a position like that? Well, I don't have any practice experience in PEDS. I would definitely find that interesting. I would be interested to find out how you combine the course. Is it a course that has a higher credit load because it's combined? Yes, it's a 4-credit course that combines the two, and then we have the clinical practicum that where we do have students in both pediatric and maternity nursing settings. Some of them are outpatient. Can you do community? Have you had any experience in the community? I have had some home care experience, yes. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for sharing, and I think I'm probably going to move ahead here, but these are the kinds of things that you want to be able to say to somebody, and even if you meet them randomly, that you can present yourself in the most broad perspectives, and to be able to, meet particular needs and adapt the skills that you've learned for the particular school, because each school's curriculum is, set up in a different way, and
they have different needs in terms of the courses that they're looking particularly to have somebody teach. Okay, so good job. I'm going to move ahead here and talk a little bit about the faculty role, and Susan and some of the other faculty members can help me a little bit because I'm, again, like I said in the beginning, I'm kind of coming at this from my experience here in a large university setting, but we use the Boyer's model of the faculty role here, and I think many schools of nursing and universities and colleges do as well. And most of you have probably read a little bit about this, but there's 4 main aspects to the role, and Boyer defined these as scholarships. There's just really kind of threads of scholarly work. The first is discovery, and that basically means the research aspect. That part of the role is, to be discovering new knowledge through research or doing evidence-based practice kinds of work. I'm going to skip down here to application, and that typically means, applying your teaching expertise in a service setting. And often in nursing, that can be interpreted to mean that you're applying your expertise doing clinical practice work. So that would be one way of applying your expertise. And another way it's interpreted to mean is to share your expertise on professional committees or serving in professional nursing organizations and those kinds of things. And then, of course, the other role, the big role, is teaching, and that's clearly what the big part of a faculty role is for most people is doing clinical and classroom teaching. Then this 4th role is the integration that brings all of these together, and that can be another area of expertise. And at our school, when we are hiring new faculty, we ask them to declare which of these 4 areas is going to be their major area of interest. And if they are wanting to do primarily research role, and those of you that are in doctoral programs, you may end up having a program of research, and that's the thing that you most want to do and why you would be seeking a faculty position. Others of you, the most important thing to you is probably teaching, and we ask people then to declare that as an area of expertise. So I'll move ahead here, and again, these are kind of a little summary again of what these primary roles are. We rarely emphasize that integration role, but certainly it's a big possibility. So those are the main thrusts of what we do as nurse educators in a faculty position. And here's just some things that I've observed over time. All these roles are complex, and if you're doing any one of them, it takes a lot of time and energy. So basically, you're emphasizing one at a time. And I'll just say I started out as teaching, and I tried to build my expertise in teaching and different kinds of strategies and different kinds of programs. But then there was a point in time when I got better prepared and was more interested in doing research and doing some evidence-based practice kinds of things in nursing education, and I was spending quite a bit of my time doing the scholarly work. So, and as I was getting grants, then my time from teaching was bought out. So, basically things will change over a period of time, but I would say the first step for anybody starting out in a faculty position is to be sure that you develop your expertise as a teacher first. And that's really what this program here that you guys are participating in is all about, is to be sure that you have the tools to become an excellent teacher and then go on and expand either into your service and practice roles or your research roles. But beyond anything, the most important thing is you need to understand what your employer needs from you and what your particular assignments are going to be. And maybe you wish to do 90% research, but this employer needs you to be doing 60% teaching. So again, you want to understand the role and your responsibilities from the employer's perspective. And Susan, do you want to add anything?
I totally agree with everything you're emphasizing, Diane. One of the things that Diane mentioned a few minutes ago that in the elevator speeches to refer people to the website, for example, to get more information. it can be really helpful in viewing a website to look at the mission and the values. Sometimes the core beliefs and values are also listed. That gives you a frame of reference for when you are talking then to the dean or to the program director or the chair, whatever the administrator structure is, in understanding the values of the institution. And that can also be very helpful in determining the fit. The other thing that I think is really very helpful for all of you, and what we've heard from, for example, master's graduates from last spring, was that when they were able to go in and talk about the education, the focus on the education competencies, and that they would be eligible to take, for example, the NLN certification after experience, that is, as well as pulling examples from their portfolio of the kinds of things that they have done for teaching, that is, as a basis for being an excellent teacher, puts you ahead of others who come out of programs that are generally clinical master's programs but don't have that additional component. So that determining, Diane is exactly right. You can do everything, you just can't do everything at once. You need to frame it within the organization that you're considering joining, and then additionally the expectations that are in that school of nursing, and really determine for yourself that fit. For those of you who are then looking perhaps at part-time, teaching part-time and doing clinical work part of the time, sometimes that can be in a partnership model between two institutions, but you're still overall looking for that fit and the expectations. So I agree with everything Diane's saying.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that, and I'll just kind of underline that point about having that competitive edge. And, when I was listening to the elevator speeches, I didn't get a sense that, you were emphasizing that competitive edge enough, that you do have had courses, that you've had experience, that you've had mentors, and those kinds of things, because I'm guessing that there's a competitive environment in New Jersey just like there is here in Indiana and nationally, that, the faculty positions are a little bit tight, and you do have a competitive edge here by virtue of being a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Scholar, so you want to maximize that. Okay, great. I'm going to move ahead, and we'll probably find some more tips along the way here, and just again as kind of the basis of understanding when you are making an application for an academic appointment that you are going to be hired through the School of Nursing, but you also then are a part of the institution of higher education, the university or college or, whatever the institution is. And those rules and regulations and hiring and appointment rules are what often prevails, and sometimes the School of Nursing, they have to fall within that. So you have to understand the bigger picture, and again, as Susan said, the mission and the purpose of the university plays into this as well. And so you're going to be, thinking about that. And again, all of these, the research scholarship and service, the Boyer model tends to fall through there. And you'll see in the position description what it is that, how those relate and come together. Okay, and here's kind of a definition of appointments. And there's lots of different kinds of appointments, and some of them can be, kind of created on the spot if they need to be. But generally, these are the ones that are time limited. It's not a tenure track, which kind of commits you to the university for a long period of time. But the visiting appointment often is a category that's used for, say, 1 year, and it's a way of, if there's not a full-time position available, that's, we call them lines, of full-time line. It's a way of hiring somebody in, but it's also a way of seeing if there is a fit. So it's a good appointment for you to see if you're fitting in with the School of Nursing, and that appointment looks like it's going to work for you. And then it's also a way for the School of Nursing to be sure that you're a fit for them. And then adjunct, and somebody who gave their elevator speech said they wanted to be an adjunct. Now, I don't know if this is exactly what you meant, but we use these as courtesy titles, and we use them with for nurses, particularly our collaborating partners in the hospitals, and we give them the appointment, and usually they do a little bit of teaching or assisting students with research, but often it's not a paid position. So you want to be careful that when you're using the word adjunct, if that is an appointment that's helpful on your vita, or is it in fact something that's being paid? And I would say probably this term may be used in different ways, but be careful that you understand what it means. And then a teaching assistant or a teaching associate, again, these are temporary positions, and their main responsibility is to help faculty with their teaching responsibilities. And I would urge you, if you have time, and particularly those of you that are doctoral students, to take these, because you can end up, doing some interesting things with faculty members who end up being mentors and can open doors. And if you've been a teaching assistant at a School of Nursing, then sometimes that you can see have heads up on appointments that are coming up. So those are the time-limited ones. And then these are the academic appointments, and we have typically 3 different kinds of appointments. One is a clinical track appointment, and the responsibilities there are teaching and clinical practice. And the clinical appointment, I think, usually comes in health sciences centers where there is a big emphasis on clinical teaching. So the main responsibilities there are just to do usually it's clinical teaching. And then we have the tenure track positions, and this does follow the Boyer's model, and the responsibilities there are teaching, service, and the research. So you need to bundle all of those together in a meaningful way. And then another academic appointment is the research scientist, and their responsibilities are primarily to conduct research and very little in the way of responsibilities for teaching other than working with the doctoral students. So again, I'm going to talk about the ranks, and then I'm going to ask Susan to verify that this is rather typical in New Jersey. But this is how the rank goes from instructor to assistant associate and full professors. And we can have these ranks in all of those, clinical track, and the tenure track. And usually all of these full-time academic appointments have a doctoral degree required. So, Susan, do you want to comment? Is this your experience? Is this pretty true of what the situation in New Jersey looks like, the appointments?
Mostly. There are certainly the academic appointments. Not all schools in New Jersey have an instructor level.
Okay.
But that may vary by institution. The other thing is that in most of the institutions here in New Jersey, an adjunct is a paid role.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, here at the College of New Jersey, our adjuncts are also unionized, so they're also part of the faculty union. That is that's not true universally, but they are. And then in some places there is actually a distinction made between adjunct and part-time because there is a cap on how much proportion of an FTE or full-time status an adjunct can teach, and sometimes there's a distinction made. This is why in the incentive program description, we did not use terms like that. We said 50% of whatever the full-time teaching load is, because we know it varies by organization, and we know there are different titles and rules and things like that. The clinical track positions, for those of you who are doctoral students and might want to look at that, are not available, for example, in the senior public institutions in New Jersey, because we are limited by the tenure statute, which right now only allows us to hire people for a fixed amount of time, full-time, if they're not in a tenure track. However, the research universities and the private colleges do have those options. So the thing is that what you want to have a general sense of is is how you think you might want to have a position work for you, or roles, and particularly if you're looking for dual role opportunities. Know what you are in general looking for. Certainly look at the basics of a website and recognize that you're going to need to ask a lot of questions. And then know what is in the incentive program on the NJNI side that you can avail yourself of if you meet those criteria. So we tried to be as generic as possible in that so that we weren't setting you up for problems because of, one institution uses as adjunct, another institution uses part-time, somebody else does something else. So we were trying to avoid that for you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Susan. And I think the bottom line is to understand what the terms mean, and to clarify. And then if one of the places that you're looking for positions and you're reading position descriptions, to understand what that means at that school. So again, this is why we're kind of giving this background of these, so you get a little insight into the culture of how academic appointments work. It's different from appointments in nursing service settings, I think. So that's why we spent a little time talking about that. Okay, well, now we're ready to talk about how to find that appointment and even if possible, to create it. So let's talk a little bit about some of those things. Well, I'm going to say where I think some places are to find academic appointments, but then I would love to hear anybody else's experience too. But I think for what I notice is the networking is the best way to do it, and that's why having that elevator speech is so important, because if anybody that you can talk to and tell them what you're interested in, sometimes they will say to you, I am looking for somebody with this skill, and maybe the position isn't even posted. Or if you have a buddy at some university where you're wanting to teach, and you can say to them, I'm interested in teaching there, keep your ears open for me, because lots of times these appointments are not, they're discussed before they're posted. So the more that you can be on the in and on the know, that's going to help you to no end. So that's how I find out about things, and that networking is, to me, is just the most important thing you can do. Certainly, we've talked about the website. Susan mentioned that too. So if you're interested in a particular school or several schools, I would keep bookmark the website so that you can go out and see what's available. And I think schools that's how they are recruiting, or sometimes they'll just say positions available, contact us. So that you could contact the person whose name is on that website. And sometimes it's not faculty, it could be the Human Resources Office, but they will put you in touch with the right person. You can be, attending job fairs, and, I know I've seen many of you out at meetings this year, and lots of schools of nursing have booths there, and to, pick up information or meet people, who are recruiting for faculty. So that's something else that you could do. And we have now created the NJNI LinkedIn, and I know many of you have already joined up because I'm seeing information from you. And I think we're hoping to be able to everybody keep the information flowing in that LinkedIn, so that if there's a position that's about to come or is available, this would be a great place for the schools to be posting it, and then for the scholars to go look for the position. So for sure that. And now I'll say, who else has some tips to share about where to find these jobs? And while you're thinking, I'm going to say another place to network is with your faculty, because we saw last year that quite a few of the scholars ended up teaching at the school where they were scholars, and the faculty, they had networked with the faculty who were able to employ them. So what other suggestions do you have? And Susan, if you have some more, feel free to pop in here.
there's nothing really specifically to add other than remember not to forget also to talk, those of you who are looking for dual roles, to be talking with the clinical organizations that you maybe you already work in or have worked in, people you know there, to have them be thinking about the possibility of some type of joint position, for example. So be exploring and putting ideas out there. And wherever you are that you do identify faculty or recruiters, or you happen to meet someone from that school who is a faculty member, find out who to talk to and how to get more information. Sometimes, particularly the adjunct or clinical adjunct positions, don't get posted long in advance. Tenure-track positions tend to get posted and recruited for up to a year in advance, or sometimes even a bit longer. But the other positions that are part-time or adjunct positions, those tend to have a shorter timeline. And if you're already on a list somewhere of somebody who has an interest, they know what your specialty focus is and what you want to be doing, you're a step ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan, that reminds me, too, that quite a few of the scholars last year got positions kind of at the last minute. I mean, I know at our school, sometimes, somebody quits or something comes up, life happens, and they need a clinical faculty member who can teach for 2 days. And right there, then you have your faculty appointment, and you can usually balance it with something else. So, for sure, like Susan says, keep your name in everybody's hat and let them know, what your interest and your availability is. And then at the same time, if you do get a full-time position, let them know that, too, so they know not to, keep you in their mix. Okay, I'm going to move ahead here, and, once you have an idea of where you're going to interview, you're going to be going probably through an appointment process, and this is generally some things that need to happen. You will have interviews, and if it's a full-time faculty position, at least at our school, we usually have that the person who's interviewing meet with administrators and faculty and students. So you can be prepared to interview in that way. The portfolio, again, is a great entree into the door, and again, it showcases your work, and some schools of nursing require that or want to see, something in writing that it comes along. Certainly they will want a CV, so be sure that that's up to date and that it showcases as best you can, if you're not going to use a portfolio, all of your teaching experience. And then you want to be able to answer the questions about what your expertise is and what you can contribute to the school. And there again, if you know what the school's mission is, what kinds of teaching responsibilities are important at that school, then you can guide the discussion in your direction to say, this is what I can bring to you. So, you're kind of selling yourself when you go on these interviews. So, be sure that you have everything, ready to explain and to, do a really good presenting yourself as best you can. And again, let's see, you want to be sure that the appointment, again, this is going to be, sometimes the peers and administrators are the ones that make the decision on the appointment, so you want to be sure that you understand that as well. Okay, and then here's some questions that you want to have answers to, preferably before you go for the interview, but certainly at the end you would want to know, what your teaching responsibilities are going to be, and, what is a typical workload there, because if you're wanting to do scholarly work as well, you have time for that, and is it, appropriate and supported and so on. And if you're going to be doing a joint appointment or have the adjunct, can you do clinical practice as well as doing didactic or clinical teaching? And it would be important to me to know, what kind of teaching resources are available. If you're interested in doing simulations or if you like doing online teaching or whatever, you need to know if all that's available. And certainly if you're going to be doing some research, you want to know, is there research funding and those kinds of things. And scholarly work for teaching, for that matter, to be able to get some small grants to develop your teaching expertise. And again, will you have time to keep your clinical practice active? And currently, most schools really want to have faculty members who are also clinically competent. That's, really important, particularly if you're doing clinical teaching. So, again, how are you going to build that in, particularly if you're having a full-time teaching position, and can you then do your clinical practice in some way? And if you don't already have that doctoral degree, will there be funding or release time to go? And I know at our school, our dean is really trying to help all the master's prepared faculty go on for their doctoral degree, and she's giving them a little tuition reimbursement and a course workload reduction every other semester. And that, in this day and age, is huge support. So that might be something that you could ask, too, because for sure you want to continue on, and schools of nursing administrators want to have doctorally prepared faculty. So put that in your questions as well. And what other kinds of things would you want to be asking or want to know when you're making, doing a contact? Or what kind of questions do you have right now? This is kind of a little moment to ask some questions or share something. Okay, Ruda, I see your hand up.
Hi, Diane.
Yes.
I wanted to make a comment about before. Actually, in the talks for me, I'm a master's student that's just finishing up at William Patterson University in August. And my mentor, Claire Donaghy, has suggested a half-time position that I could try to get as a faculty member at William Patterson, as well as a half-time position as a nurse practitioner at the Health and Wellness Center at William Patterson. So it would be wonderful to have, those two come together. And it is a lead for now, as you've called it, but if I could get that position. And then the other thing she suggested was a summer doctoral program where I could go and get my doctorate, do most of the coursework in the summer times when I'm a little more free, and that way I can pursue both, all the three things that I wanted to pursue.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. Seems like you're getting a lot of ducks in a row here, and it would be ideal if all of that can come together. And, those part-time positions, the dual roles like that are, fabulous. But I think, from my experiences, you kind of have to put them together and talk with, several people to see if it's even possible. So, just be out there networking and letting people know what the ideal situation for you would be, and try to make that all come together. And yes, there are the doctoral programs that are in the summer, and I'd say most of the doctoral programs also are the ones that many of them are online, so you can have a little more flexibility in your time and not have to travel so far. So for sure, keep your eye open for the kinds of doctoral programs. Your first way of looking at that is for the the kind of degree that you want and the area that you want to do your work in. But for sure, having it convenient and nearby is also a plus. Okay, any other questions? Yeah. Other questions or comments?
I will share with everyone that we are trying, we have been doing this, and we will continue to do this, to remind nurse execs and deans and directors around the state that you all are NJNI scholars, that we know that there will be a number of the master's graduates who will be looking for dual role experiences, and that to the extent that deans and directors can be reaching out to their clinical partners and vice versa, we really want to encourage that. And so we know we're fostering conversation around that. We also know that that folks are trying to find ways to expand what they currently offer. So, and we also know that it's not easy to negotiate some of this on your own. So we're doing what we can to keep the spotlight on the fact that that you are in this program and that you will be graduating, and that we want to keep you in the state.
Great. Well, I'll say the scholars are just the most fortunate people that I know at this point in time. You know, all the support they've had for going to school, and then now to have all the support as they're transitioning into their new roles. So step up to the plate, scholars, and take advantage of all these wonderful opportunities that await you. Okay. Also, now when we're visualizing success here, and that you are making the application and you need to write a letter of reference. And I think it's not too soon to be thinking about who is going to write a letter of reference for you, no matter what kind of a position you're going to be ending up taking. So that would be a little project for you to do while you're on break from school here over the holidays. So think about who can do this for you, and then you could ask them now and just say, I'm going to be looking at positions now for the next 6 months, and I'm wondering if I can use you for several of them. And then what you'd want to do after they say yes is, once you are putting their name on an application, you want to give them the heads up. And, you want to choose somebody who knows, what you do and your experience and so on. And I told the story last time when we did this about somebody who had given my name for a reference and never asked me or told me, and then I'm getting a call from somebody who's wanting a lot of detailed information about this former student of mine, and I barely could remember the student, let alone know what she was doing now and what I could say. So clearly I was not doing a good service for the student, and I could have done much better if the student had said, sent me an email and said, I'm using your name and here are my key points. So be sure that you are giving everybody an up-to-date. And truthfully, I don't mind if I'm writing a letter, if somebody writes it for me, gives me the draft, and then I will, happily fill in and add to it or give more information. But at least bullet points help me start. So I think that's be respectful of the people that you're going to ask to do references for you. And then we're going to visualize more success, that you have been offered an appointment. And then again, here's some things that you want to be thinking about before you say yes. And, Susan mentioned, the fit here. That's so important that you end up in an organization that matches your needs and your goals and will be a good way to launch your faculty career. So, kind of weigh that. Be sure that you understand what's expected. And, all my teacher ed students, when they start teaching, they say even though they had the preparation, they never understood that this is what teaching was all about. So be sure that you, kind of have a good sense of what it is that you're going to be doing, and, that you're prepared for it. And, you've done it. When you do your interview, be sure that you try to meet as many of the faculty and the students and administrators as you can, so that you kind of know, how that fit's going to feel for you. And then, too, particularly if you're taking a full-time position, and it could be on a tenure track. Those of you that are doctoral students and thinking ahead, you want to look at what are the advancement and promotion criteria, because there is an expectation that you will be building a career. That's an expectation for all faculty, and be retained to the institution. So you want to be sure that you're, kind of aware of what it is that you have to do after the first, year or so, and actually during that first year to be prepared to continue to advance. So talk a little bit about presenting your professional self, and then I want to be sure that we end with, time for questions here. So here's what I would say that you should have at the ready, even now. So if you don't have any of these things pulled together over the holidays, is a good time to be doing this. Your philosophy and personal statement in your portfolio. And I've, read many of yours in evolution here, and I know your mentors and your faculty have been good about helping you get these nicely written. So be sure that you have, those documents ready, and anything in your portfolio, because even if it's not asked for, Susan said it's a little plus here. It gives you a competitive edge. So have that ready. Absolutely, you will need to have your CV. And again, I've looked at those for most of you, and be sure that they are up to date and that they're clear and present a best case. I just looked at a CV for a colleague of mine who wants to do some career advancement. She's been teaching for 10 years, and when I looked at her CV, I knew more about her teaching and her expertise and what she had been doing over the last 10 years than showed on that CV. So I shudder when I see CVs that don't capture the essence of what's been happening in that person's career. So figure out a way to showcase all the good things that you've been doing. So be sure that it's strong. You may need to put in a resume, particularly part of your work, the employment that you're seeking will be in a clinical setting. So you want to, if you need to have that, you have a nice little resume together. You will need a transcript. I'm quite sure that would be needed. So it's not completed at this point. I realize that, but be sure to get it as soon as you can. And you notice when Lisa gave her elevator speech, she said, "Here's my business card." So you want to have that, even now, and more importantly now than later, because if you are meeting somebody and you want them to remember you, having that card is important. And having letterhead, even if it's something that you make, on your out of a Word document, if you're submitting, an application and you're writing the letter, you want to have it something that looks really professional. So have those tools ready, and then again, your references ready. And then the other thing that's just kind of my pet peeve is to have an email address that's going to be professional and stable, that where you will always be getting your email. And some of these silly little names. I had a young friend with whom I did email, and he was looking for a job, and I thought, oh, ye gads, whoever he's sending his application to and sees this crazy name that he has on his email, they're going to think the same thing that I do, because they're going to be my age, not his. So be sure that you look professional all the way up and down the line. Okay, and then when you're interviewing, I can say, just all these things still count. Follow up, tell them thank you for meeting with you and all those kinds of things. And if they're asking for information, be sure that you send it quickly in a timely manner. So when should you start? Now. And if you didn't have that elevator speech when I was calling on you today, be sure that you've got that ready. You will be out doing fun things over the holidays, and I bet you can meet 3 people that you can tell what you're going to be doing and want to be doing in the next after you graduate. So be sure that you've got that ready, and be sure that you're just out there and letting people know that you're interested in applying for positions. So let's stop here for questions and comments, and while you guys are thinking of your question, I'll ask Susan, what else should we say to give encouragement here?
Well, I guess that I do want to reinforce that you have a really good foundation to be seeking from. I know that there's uncertainty with regard to the economy and those sorts of things, but you really are on the leading edge of preparation, of knowing how to go about and do this. The fact that you have, as a Robert Wood Johnson New Jersey Nursing Initiative Scholar on your CV, and you can explain what that means, I know is an advantage over what others have. You are your own best advocate, however, and working on this now is really the right approach. And I know it feels sort of overwhelming to be thinking about the future at the same time that the demands on your time are so great now. But as you work through this with the various elements of it, if you have that elevator speech ready, as Diane said, you don't know who you might run into. You have your business card, you have that ready, you have an opportunity at a meeting you didn't even expect, someone is there, oh gee, that might be an organization I might want to seek a position with. Just being ahead of that curve is very, very helpful. So you have all of the right stuff to get started on this. And while we can't find you positions, the fact that you are in this program is a real benefit. The fact you have in Diane Billings a mentor, someone to look at your CV, someone to give you feedback on your portfolio, in addition to your faculty. I mean, so you've got levels and levels of support here that many students don't have the opportunity for. So take full advantage of it and really make the most of the opportunity that you have, because we really do want your success is our success and vice versa.
Great. Well, thank you. And I see Dr. Donahue has her hand up. Claire, did you want to add?
Hi, this is Claire. I just wanted to also add that many appointment committee interview processes involve teaching, doing a mini class of 20 to 30 minutes. So I wanted the scholars to be prepared for that possibility when they are scheduled for an interview at a university, that they have some ideas of topics that they can address a class on, and it depends on the timing as to what class they would be presenting to. So the appointment committee is also looking at how can that potential faculty member, stretch themselves and do some teaching, and they're looking directly at their interaction with the students. So you need to be prepared for that as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really important to know that that's a possibility. Yeah, and probably a good thing on the part of the employer to add that into the process. Okay, scholars, any questions from you? Okay, well, I'm going to suggest these things for holiday homework. So read that at your leisure. Be sure that you've got everything, yeah? And next, do my marketing here. We're going to meet again in February 10th. I think last session I said the 9th, but it is Friday the 10th. And we have done this as a face-to-face, and I'm going to suggest that all the scholars meet every single faculty member and administrator who is at that meeting, and be prepared to network around and get your elevator speech going, because that's what the purpose of these networking sessions are. That's why we're adding another face-to-face. And the topic here is going to be assessing and evaluating learning. Jane Kirkpatrick is going to come and help us get up to speed on those topics. And we're going to do a scholar showcase, and I will be tapping you for those. So any final words or comments? And thanks for the smiley faces. Susan, any last words? I hope you feel better.
And the good news about a cold is it eventually goes away.
Yes, and one of our scholars has pneumonia. I've kind of forgotten who it was, but I hope you are better too. That's serious.
Everybody get some rest. Thanks for being on the call, and have a wonderful, wonderful holidays.
Yes, holiday greetings from me too. Good end of the semester. Okay, we'll see you in February next year. Woo.
Yeah, really, next year. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.